Hello everyone, my name is Nathan and today it's time for another episode of Starmade. It is really early in the morning, it's like 7 o'clock in the morning. This is because I really don't have the time to produce videos. I should be doing something completely different today. Tomorrow I'm actually going on a late honeymoon. We actually got the opportunity to get rented a minibus and we're just gonna drive through Switzerland and sleep wherever the heck we want over the next weekend. So I'm not gonna be able to produce any videos. I'm gonna try to produce one Starmade video today and maybe another video. I'm not sure if I will manage to do so because usually I take my 4 to 6 hours to produce one of these episodes. So I thought instead of going for a very ambitious project on the mothership, we're gonna have one more logic episode and we're gonna try a few other concepts that I definitely want to figure out. There's a bunch of things that I now want to change around due to the new railing system and the new logic possibilities that we have. So there's definitely a lot of stuff we can do. One of the things that I want to try out first is that we now basically have a much better solution in order to give out fast signals. Normally we are dependent on the delay block, as you can see, and I believe the delay block is like half a second. I'm not sure, you can correct me on that if you want to. What I mainly mean is that the delay blocks cannot be changed in speed. So you are set to a certain speed, you cannot go really faster. Now, contrary to the railing system here, we can actually hook up a speed controller block and make it slightly faster, and it is definitely faster going from one block to the next one instead of having a delay block sending the signal. But to be honest, I haven't actually tested this theory out very thoroughly, so maybe let's do that. We're gonna have a bunch of activation modules here, we're gonna have some delay blocks right here, then we are gonna have our rails, of course, right here, and I want to see which signal is gonna be faster. So we are gonna set a rail speed controller right here. Maybe let's do it so that we can actually see what it is, and we're gonna make sure that it is hooked up to each of these rails, just like that. Then we are gonna have an additional rail facing into the other direction right here. That is good. This is where we are gonna put our block, our ship core to be exact. So maybe let's do that right away. I should have another ship core that we can attach to that. Of course, on the ship core itself we are gonna require at least one of these rail dockers. So let's place that right here. There we go, and now we should be able to dock to the first module. There we go. It's not very accurate with the pointing or the aiming, but there we go. The block is attached. We can go back into the build block right here, and now the only thing we need is maybe another activation module. We want to place one right there with the activation module. The activation module we're going to connect to this one so we can start it up. We're also going to connect it to this one so we can kind of see the speed that is going on. Now let's see, I think I do have to hook up at least one activation module to this guy, right? To make it like really fast. Let's just do the first test run and we are gonna start this up, check out what is happening. Oh yeah, I forgot something very important, namely to send this signal over to the next modules. Okay, let's switch those guys around again so that we go back. We are gonna test it again. There we go. Okay, yeah, definitely faster. You can see that. That was pretty clear. So, for instance, if I want a faster wavy effect, then it might be better to use a system like this to activate each activation module. It also doesn't seem to be using a lot more space because usually you have to go with an activation module, then a delay block in between, then another activation module, and so on and so forth. So I guess that might be something we could switch around on the mothership, because for my taste, those guys were always going not fast enough. We could have opening hangar doors, we can also have like a light blinking. So for instance, we could take each second one apart right here. We could then place lights somewhere and then hook those guys up, just like so. And now we make sure that the light is actually off, and now when we change it, we should have a blinking effect going on, shouldn't we? Oh. that did not work out the way I wanted it to. Why did it disconnect? Can it only connect like to one block? We can easily circumvent this issue. We hook this up right here, but then we hook this activation module up and this one to this one, this one to this one, and therefore the light will theoretically only be controlled by one single activation module. However, let's switch it around again and now it should be blinking. There we go, and it is blinking faster than with the delay blocks. There's just so many things that we can do with this rail system. It gives us totally new types of clocks. It gives us types of controllable clocks, and it's just so much better. So let me think about what kind of projects we could undertake today. It's just gonna be, you know, simple concept projects. The next time I'm gonna try to do something bigger again on the mothership. We're gonna try to implement some of these features on a bigger scale, but today I just want to do some more with the logic. I'm just so freaking happy that this is in the game, this new system. Just makes me happy. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay guys, another concept that I always wanted to have in this game is of course rotation. With the rotational blocks, a lot of things are gonna be possible. Right now I'm really curious if you kind of can accumulate the momentum each block gets and have like a really fast rotating thing on the top. This is exactly what we're gonna try right now. So I'm gonna get outside that vehicle, align myself to the station, and we're gonna create yet another new ship. 3D space is really confusing. Okay, there we go. We're gonna do something like that. Now we need a rail docker. On top of here, I want to have 9 activation modules. And on the top of that, I want a clockwise rotation. Of course, it should be facing upwards, somewhat like this. Now we want to select this and hook it up with each of the activation modules. And we also want to activate those guys. 9 of the modules, if you forgot, will make the attached ship turn around infinitely. So why don't we go ahead and try to attach it? We're gonna attach that ship to this one. Beautiful. And as you can see, it is turning around indefinitely. Maybe let's take this block away. That was just for testing purposes. And now what I'm hoping is that if I place this ship on top of here, it will be much faster, the rotation, and we shall see if that is really the case. Okay, yeah, we can clearly see that the upper one seems to be doubly as fast, so we shall continue that pattern. I'm really excited now. Let's hook this up and holy bejeez. Oh yes, let's add up some more of that. Let's just exaggerate like all the freaking time, because I have a few ideas what we could do with really fast rotational blocks. We could make some kind of a shield type of thing across the mothership. Oh man, ideas. Let me dock. Oh, definitely going faster and faster the more we go up. Come on, let me do that, and yes, it is definitely faster. Well, so now what I'm interested in is if we can take this momentum onto a wider spread, and I'm sure that was no correct English, but we are gonna try to enter this ship core. We are gonna undock just very briefly, and we're gonna manipulate this guy a little bit. We're just gonna build a bunch of those blocks. I want to see if we can take this momentum outside, and maybe, possibly, we could make some kind of a shield mechanism having rotating stuff across the surface of the mothership. I mean, really fast rotating stuff. But there we go. Let's go inside of it, and we are gonna dock the thing one more time. And yeah, guys, what do you say about that? Oh, I don't have any words for this. We can rotate stuff really freaking quickly, man. Even without any mass blocks, even though I'm not sure if they are doing something for the rotational blocks. I mean, this is pretty fast. This is like, I don't know, fast. So now we could take this concept basically a little bit further by adding a mechanism so that we can shut it down whenever we want to. The only thing we need to do is hook up something like wireless. Let's try something wireless. So for instance, I could have a wireless module right here and another one. I'm just gonna put it maybe right here. And then we need to hook those guys up, and oh yeah, you can see on the top right it says wireless logic blocks connected. So even though you cannot see the marker, they are actually connected, and you cannot see the marker because of course we are on a different vessel theoretically. So now I should be able to select this and then just activate all of those guys, and then we do this and this. and it shuts them down. Okay, sometimes I'm really stupid. Of course, this thing here, those guys affect this module. So what I should do is actually also hook those guys up right here. That will work out much better. And now if we deactivate them, it should just be doing this. That's not what I wanted. Get rid of this block. There we go. This is actually working out perfectly. We're gonna add another wireless block right here, and we hook it up to the block down below again. This module will be hooked up to each of those guys so that we can stop the upper one. Let's just do that right away. Of course, so because this activation module is next to this rail, this guy will actually activate this module. That makes total sense. So what we should have is another block in between the activation module and the rotational block, and with that we would solve the problem. Okay, so while I was doing that, I also figured that unfortunately you can only hook up one wireless module to another one. So I was hooking up this guy to this one, but as soon as we hook it up to the other one, then it will disconnect from this one. So we have to have one activation module for each. Okay, there we go. Now we only have to hook this up right here and maybe do something like that. And now hopefully we should be able to activate everything, and yes, it doesn't do a thing. Well, you know, it could be idea. We just have to have like a basic rail right here, and then we have to have another activation switch. Oh, look at that. Now it is not going. Yeah, what? I don't understand it. Okay, there we go. I finally managed to do it. I think I'm getting sick. Alright guys, it is about 2.5 hours later. I did it again. I just managed to waste all the time into details and stuff and just crazy things, but I think I'm onto a concept here that we might want to check out in the future, namely mech robots. And it is just incredibly complicated with the mechanics and features that we have so far. If you are only dependent on the rotational blocks and you have to time it in some fashion, it is just going crazy. So what I have built myself here is essentially one leg of a robot. You can see this is like the upper leg, this is the lower leg, and here we have the foot. All of these things can be rotated around individually. So for instance, I could, I don't know, press this block and I can rotate around the foot. I can rotate it in 45 degrees. Now, of course, we can do this with each individual module. So for instance, this guy I can turn around by simply pressing these buttons, and we can do this again with 45-degree iterations. And last but not least, we can also influence the upper joint using those guys. I made this one a little bit slower using speed control and a bunch of activation modules. It is just crazy, it is insane. I have lost the complete overview. However, I built myself a little clock right here, so as soon as I activate this switch, this block here will rotate around and therefore activate those guys. It will activate the wireless unit, which will be doing stuff on the individual ships right here, which I have connected together. And it is completely impossible to actually keep the overview, but let me show you what each individual step actually does. So this is the first step, so like the first activation block this guy over there would activate. Let's hit that button and we can see the three modules changing. So this guy is like coming forth, this guy is turning down, and this foot is going a little bit up. We can go to the second step, which is going even further and kind of straightening the leg. After that, we want to get back again into a normal position. I forgot to also rotate the foot around a little bit, and then we go into the final position, and this is where I lost complete track. This is also the starting position again. So as you can see, I have the ability to change the rotation using those activation modules. They will change the docking blocks right here, the rail blocks, and by hooking up several modules, for instance right here we have two activation modules hooked up, we can define the rotation. So if I selected this guy right here, we can see three of those activation modules are hooked up. So that means if I press this button, which is only hooked up to this one activation unit, then it will turn 45 degrees. But if I press this button, which is hooked up to two activation modules, it will turn 90 degrees. So pressing this button should turn it 90 degrees. And yeah, and now we have to press this twice in order to get it into the normal position. But there is no real sense in explaining too much. It's just a whole mess of activation modules, and I don't know, there should be more interfaces, I think. But as far as I know, Schema intentionally doesn't want to have interfaces. He wants everything to be solved with blocks, and yeah, this is just sometimes a little bit messy. A few things could be done with interfaces, in my opinion, just to make it possible to have slicker designs. However, let's activate this freaking unit and see what it does. I'm gonna enable this guy, and you can already see that we have a slow ongoing clock, kind of. It's just activating each of the steps individually, and let's see how that actually looks from this perspective. So yeah, the timing is also not perfect, of course. It could be a lot more of a fluent movement, but I do like the beginning. Everything kind of moves naturally, and then when it stops, yeah, it doesn't really do it anymore. But, you know, this is again proof of concept. Maybe we can actually do something robotic-wise, but it's gonna be huge, and it's gonna be a total freaking mess. But yeah, guys, I again wasted all of the time that I have today, though I hope you do like me figuring out a few things. I truly believe that we can use most of the ideas that we had in the past 2 episodes on the mothership somewhat. I mean, I already mentioned that I want to have some mechs or some robots, some types, and maybe we can do something with it. I mean, we just have to be a little bit creative. And also maybe do a little bit of role-playing for stuff that doesn't work. Okay, so I would say we're gonna wrap up the episode at this point. The next time, I promise you, I'm gonna build something on the mothership again. It will most likely deal with some real ideas, but it's time we move out of the concept phase and we do something real with all these ideas. But yeah, there we go. If you spend enough hours, a smooth movement should actually be possible. But other than that, I thank you so much for watching, for leaving a like or a comment. Have a great time, and hopefully I'm going to catch you in the next one. Bye bye.